BS-Free Witchcraft is a production of the Nerd and Tie Podcast Network. Nerd and Tie produces podcasts ranging from actual play to true crime, and you can find more at nerdandtie.com or join our Discord by going to nerdandtie.com/Discord. Welcome to BS-Free Witchcraft, your monthly guide to the modern witchcraft movement. Mine's a lot of the usual, bullshit. I'm your host, Trey Dorn. It is February of 2026, and I've got a little off-the-cuff episode for you guys this month. I had originally a whole other plan, and then I decided I wanted to do this because I was mad and angry, and everyone knows I make my best decisions when I'm mad and angry. And this month we're going to talk about a topic very close to my heart, and that is something that I have been saying is an important part of beginning in witchcraft for a long time, but have yet to do an episode on. And that is curse your enemies. Let me try that again.
Curse your enemies.
Sorry about that. Frog in my throat. Anyways, before we get started though, I do have this little thing where I'm going to promote something of mine. You know, like how I do that when I talk about books. I have a graphic novel coming out. Welcome to Peregrine Lake Chapter 1. It's the collected first chapter of Peregrine Lake, the comic that I write that is drawn by the amazingly talented Ethan Flanagan. And on May 1st, our first print collection is coming out. It's a comic. It's good. I wrote it. It's neat. If you're interested in pre-ordering it, the link's going to be in the description. I won't talk about it anymore. I swear. Anyways. To get back to the topic at hand, I made this beginner witch tip thing a long time ago. I made a post on Tumblr, and then I made a video version on TikTok that also got shared on Tumblr, like everything I do, that I think is remotely funny. And one of the things I put in there was to curse your enemies, because they are your enemies and they deserve it. Now, in many ways, this was meant to be a joke, but I'm also not joking. Like, I did a whole episode on Fight a God, which was out of that exact same list. Like, it is literally why people associate with Fight a God, but no one associates me with curse your enemies, and I think that's about time to change, because I'm really angry. I had originally thought about trying to do an in-depth researched episode this month, right? Like, I was going to do that thing where I found some topic, like maybe I would do theosophy, or maybe I would talk about the history of turfs in witchcraft, or, you know, like, there are so many things I could talk about, but the fact is the world is in such a state that I am existing in kind of a constant state of low-level rage these days. And for me, one of the best ways to express that and deal with that is to curse my enemies. Yeah. Now, for a long time within the modern witchcraft movement, there's been this massive bias against cursing. Now, a lot of this came out of the Satanic Panic, where there's an urge to sanitize witchcraft, to make it look palatable and friendly, because people were afraid of being associated with the fictional satanic cults that did not actually exist. Wicca itself is especially guilty of this, with the entire promotion of the modified version of the threefold rule, which again does not reflect what Gardner put in his original concept for the idea in his fictional novel High Magic's Aid. The version of the threefold rule, though, where anything you do comes back to you 3 times, so if you try to curse people, you'll be triple cursed. That's not in Gardner's original rule. Gardner's original rule wasn't even a universal law. And again, it was in a work of fiction, but within that work of fiction, the idea of that threefold rule was that a witch needed to do to other people whatever they did to them times 3. So in other words, if someone does something nice for you, you're supposed to do nice stuff for them times 3. And if someone fucks with you, you're supposed to fuck with them 3 times harder. Right? It's meant to be a deterrent not to screw with witches, not to be a you must be good. And it's not a rule built on the idea that the universe will punish you, or that magic will punish you. Moralizing magic is bad. It's like moralizing water. The idea is the idea is that it's the action. These are actions chosen to be taken by the witch. It's just that a witch is supposed to do that thing. And again, that's within the context of a work of fiction. So how much we take that to heart doesn't really matter, because again, in the end, that rule or law is a thing that, even within the context of the fiction, was a thing that the witch was choosing to do. But whether it's Buckland's fault or Monique Wilson's fault or whoever made that change, because some of the sources have conflicted that I have found about who is the creator of the modified version of the threefold rule, whether it, or if we're going back to Gwen Thompson's poem, any of these, doesn't matter. And the idea that there's a universal rule against doing it is nonsense, because that is an invention. And if you want to believe in that, I'm not going to get mad at you. But if we go back to, if you want to claim that you're doing something from Wicca, let's go back to the fact that one of the co-founders of Wicca, because again, I consider Doreen Valiente equally important for creating Wicca, one of the co-founders was actively telling people that what a witch should do is come back 3 times harder. And there is the matter of fact of the Wiccan read with Wiccans, where it's supposed to be, and it harm none, do as you will. But remember, read is just advice. It's not a law. It's not a universal truth. It is not a creed. It is not a thing you are sworn to. I mean, okay, there are probably someone's taken an oath as part of their witchcraft initiation to follow the read in some tradition. And that's your problem, not my problem, though, because I didn't. And I think it's a good idea to curse your enemies. Because, look, the world is full of people who are pieces of shit. And look, I'm a Wiccan, again, but you probably aren't. Statistically, my listeners skew away from Wicca, right? And so if you're not cursing your enemies, I want to ask you why. If you aren't hung up, if there's no universal law that you believe in, if there's no story or tale that is part of the foundational beliefs of your path of witchcraft, ask yourself why you aren't using magic offensively. Right now, look, I'm going to get into politics. Right now, there is a federalized Gestapo on the streets of Minneapolis and St. Paul, about an hour and a half away from me. The fact is, they're in multiple cities right now, and all of them deserve to be cursed. Every single one of them has signed up for a fascist secret police. And if you are one of my listeners, and if you are suddenly bothered by my political stance here, feel free to stop listening. Because if you support fascism and you tell me that, I'm literally going to curse you. I'm not going to do anything if you don't tell me, because I won't know who you are. But if you feel the need to tell me, and you're watching or listening to a witchcraft podcast hosted by a queer witch in the year 2026 or later or whenever, if you are somehow supporting whatever the hell is happening and you decide to tell me that you support them, I'm going to curse you. I will take time out of my day to do it. I don't care how many of you there are. I will take the time to do it. Now, that said, there are plenty of people who are worthy of getting cursed in this world. And I'm going to tell you flat out, many spells that we try and we do, it may not work. Right? Like, magic as it influences the universe tends to be more subtle than overt for those of us who at least believe in its effect, right? I'm not able to summon a fireball into my hand. I can't violate the laws of physics that way. I can only hope to move things in the universe in the subtle and basic ways that are at my disposal. And a lot of the fact that, like, do I believe that I have worked spells that have worked? Yes. However, I don't have the power to make a guy get struck by lightning, right? Like, that is not at my disposal. We all recognize this. I think pretty much anyone rational listening to my show who is a witch understands the limitation of the magic that we practice. However, I'm going to explain to you the most important reason that you should be cursing your enemies. It will make you feel better. It will make you feel better. Now, again, we do the most powerful magics first. The most powerful thing for opposing fascism, for dealing with people who are trying to obstruct our lives, is direct confrontation sometimes. It is sometimes moving against them in other ways that have nothing to do with magic. It is, taking direct steps and direct action, of course. But at the end of the day, we all have limited power for what we can do in real life. Sometimes the person is above us in authority. Sometimes we don't have the ability to stop them directly. Sometimes we do, and when we do have the ability to take those actions, we should. But when we don't, when we have exhausted every direct, real-life action that we can take, when we have exhausted all of those opportunities, we're often still left feeling like we need to be doing something more. And I will tell you, the thing that will scratch that itch, that will make you feel better, is cursing your enemies. I don't care what magical model you use. I do not care about your spell techniques. I have made it very clear that I think there are many paths through the forest and that there are many conflicting paradigms that we disagree on why magic works or how magic works. I don't even care that your magic is particularly effective, but at the end of the day, when you have exhausted all options within your power, it feels good to take the one extra action that you can take. It will make you feel good to curse your enemies. There is an idea that love is the most important, most powerful thing in the world, and I don't disagree with that, but the second most powerful thing in the world is fucking spite. And when love can't carry you over the finish line, spite sure fucking can. And you know what? Like, people tell me that maybe it's not good to live with hate in my heart, and I don't live with hate in my heart, but I sometimes live with rage and anger that is put there for very good, justifiable reasons. And I will tell you, in those moments, in the darkest moments of the night, when I feel powerless, when there is nothing more that I can do, when I have stood up and I have taken as much action as I am physically capable of taking, to do that one extra step of cursing my enemies, it just helps me get to sleep. That one more unfinished task, that one more thing that I could be doing, that one more thing that I could add to my plate. Look, magic is not a replacement for direct action. We always do the most direct things. We talk about healing spells. We always say the first important thing with any sort of magical healing is to take the medicine prescribed by your doctor, right? If you have cancer, you go get chemo. You don't rely on faith healing and magic. You go get the medicine, you get the medical treatment and supplement it with the magic, right? You always take the most effective solution first, right? I'm not saying that you should sit at home and just curse the people in the world who are doing wrong and nothing else. No, I'm saying you should stand up, get up, take direct action that you can, and then when you're done, when you're exhausted, when you have taken every step that you can, then also curse your enemies. And also, frankly, the anger that I hold for, say, the people who are currently rounding up people on the streets and putting them in camps, I want to curse those people, but there's other stuff I got to do there. But also, your coworker Bob, who keeps fucking with you. You don't need to go outside of his house and yell, but cursing him will make you feel better. I am saying this is a solution to the problems, not just large, not just the epic, huge problems in the world. In fact, there are times when you have to deal with some guy in your workplace or in some other thing where directly tackling that problem, there isn't a way to directly tackle the problem, where anything you could do directly is going to make the situation worse. Right? So you're working with Bob, and Bob's a dick. And Bob keeps fucking with shit. And you've tried going to your supervisor, you've tried going to HR, and nothing's happening, but you can't leave the job because you need to pay your fucking rent. You need the health insurance, and you're trying to find other work. Yeah. You're trying to find a way out of this job, but until that works, you gotta have to keep working with Bob. Well, you curse Bob. You curse Bob so hard. You curse him to step on Legos every time he wakes up in the middle of the night. He probably doesn't even have kids or even have toys. Where did that Lego come from? He won't know. You cursed it to appear. It somehow got drug in on someone's boot and then into his bedroom, kicked around on accident. So when he wakes up in the middle of the night to pee, because you're also going to curse him to have to constantly pee in the middle of the night, he'll step on that Lego. That's a solid curse for that annoying coworker that you can't deal with in any other way. So again, curses, the solution for problems big and small, and why aren't you doing them? Why aren't you doing them? Why aren't all of us doing them? Like, I almost feel like it's dealing with Puritan, not Puritan, it feels uptight not to curse your enemies, right? Like, we are witches. Most of us got into witchcraft to do magic, right? Like, there's a faith component for some forms of witchcraft, but all of us at its core, like, even religious witches, we didn't pick Buddhism. We picked witchcraft. And there comes a time when you just say fuck it and you curse your fucking enemies. This episode is going to get like absolutely no views on YouTube. I've sworn so many times. Curse your enemies, curse your enemies, curse your enemies, curse your enemies. Because they are your enemies and they deserve it. And then when you're done, curse your enemies again. Bring down the wrath. Because again, this might not do shit. Like, recall that this might not do anything. However, you will, at the end of the day, feel that little bit of spiteful glee as you curse Bob yet again. Yet again. Can you tell I'm mad? I think it's time that love and light be put on a shelf. And you can disagree with me on that. Look, if you want to be peaceful and happy and just, the reason why love and light flourished so much in like the 90s is because if you were a suburban white person where the witchcraft movement largely took off, if you were a suburban white person, it was pretty great to be a white suburban person in the 90s. And that's when, the publishing boom and all of the, we're white witches, we're white witches, but also white witches. And we don't practice dark magic and all love and light and no, fuck that. It's 2026. The world is very different now. It's time for an angrier witch. It's time for a darker witch. If we're still using that kind of metaphor. Fuck it. Remember, magic's not baneful. I am. Don't be afraid to cast a curse. Because remember, magic has no morality the same way the ocean doesn't. Magic is a tool. A hammer can be used to build a shelf or break his kneecaps. I'm not at... And at least if you curse your enemies, there's no law against cursing your enemies. That's the thing. You come after that guy with the hammer, you're going to get in trouble. They can't get you for cursing him. There's no law against cursing your enemies. What are they going to get you for? So, curse your enemies. And fuck ice. But this is not specifically about them. Just curse your enemies in general. It'll make you feel better. Because again, Bob is a dick and Bob deserves it. No, I've never worked with anyone named Bob. I just had to go through my head and make sure that I just want to be clear. If you're someone named Bob and I've worked with you at some point, I am not talking about you. Don't worry about it. Probably. But anyways, that was an episode. Sort of. A little shorter, a little tight, and maybe a bit of a rant, but please take it to heart. Do the thing. You will feel better. It is... While love may be the most wonderful motivator and probably the most powerful force in the world, spite will carry you through it when you don't have it. And it's better to be angry than depressed and hiding in a hole. I want to thank you guys for listening to this episode. Whatever the hell just happened. I want to thank my Patreon patrons. Remember, you can support the show for just $1 a month and you get episodes like this a whole week early. You could have known how much of a lunatic I was going to be a week before everybody else did. I want to give a shout out to my supporters at the shout out tier of Lindsay Dosey, Bruce Norville, Claire Dennis, Pamela Stariak, and Elder Gamble. And, there are other perks. There's stuff. I'm not going to talk about them too much this episode because I talk about them all the time. So, and again, pre-orders for Welcome to Peregrine Lake are available on bookshop.org and Amazon and other places. But, or you can read that comic for free at peregrine-lake.com because it's a web comic. So, you don't have to buy this book. You can just go read the contents of this book in your web browser right now. There is a little bonus story at the back of this book, though, that previously had been on the web briefly. The bonus stories for the comic, for the books, will they temporarily appear on the website because I want to reward people who read the comic as it comes out. So, the story, The Move, came out back in 2024, I think. But it's now only available in this book. There is there's currently a story on there called The Interview that will be pulled offline at the end of the year to go into book 2 when that comes out in 2027. But so like there's a little bit of exclusive, but like you can just read this comic for free right now on the actual internet, like the important parts at peregrine-lake.com. So, but the book is neat. And also, though, I do have novels. Buried Memories came out in December, my queer urban fantasy series, The Mia Graves Saga. And I will stop talking about my books. Remember, if you can't support the show through like Patreon or anything like that, you can follow me on social media and just tell your friends about it. You can find me on TikTok at TRAEGORN. I am on Tumblr at TRAEGORN.tumblr.com. I am on Blue Sky at TRAEGORN.bsky.social. And you can find all my personal stuff at Tradorn.com. You can follow the show on Facebook at facebook.com/BSFreeWitchcraft. Do not try to add me on my personal page. That's where I talk to my mom. And in theory, you can find me other places too, but those are all the ones that I actually like actively go to. And of course, the show is a part of the Nerd and Tie podcast network, where you can find a whole bunch of other podcasts at nerdandtie.com, including Ask Medievalist, which is a phenomenal podcast hosted by E.H. Lupton, co-hosted by E.H. Lupton, and who also has a new book coming out, and there's pre-order information for that on nerdandtie.com. And yeah, also Casual Trek. I really like Casual Trek. You should listen to Casual Trek. Miles and Charlie are very entertaining. Even if sometimes Miles spelled Ferengi wrong so much in one episode description, I had to fix it. Anyways, that's where we are wrapping up the show for this month. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. The world is terrible, and we can make it better, and curse your enemies. Because remember, magicians, dirt in our fingernails, brick in our hand, and I'll talk to you next month.